Hey there, this is Anthony from DESelect. In today's interview, I'll be talking with Josh Bradley, the CMO of 4C. Josh will be explaining what it means to position as a services provider that is a pan-European platinum Salesforce Pardot. But we're actually going to be covering a lot of ground in this interview. So he'll be talking about how to build a brand, and also how they become more targeted, which is of course a subject close to my heart. And specifically, he's going to be talking about how they start to focus on, for instance, CPQ, and they got industry focus, for instance, in manufacturing. Besides this, if you're using Salesforce Pardot, you'll find this interview very interesting because he'll be sharing some concrete lessons learned of how they are using Pardot in their organization, including the topic of lead scoring, which is very tricky, as we will discuss, but also how building data is so useful for retargeting, and then for remarketing, in fact. And lastly, he'll also be going into how important it is to have a segmentation strategy, again, a topic close to my heart. So I hope you find this interview very interesting. Now don't forget to subscribe to these videos here on our YouTube channel so you can stay up to date when we are releasing more content like this. Other than that, I hope you enjoy it. All right. Hi Josh. Thanks for having us here in your office.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're most welcome. I think it's best for viewers perhaps first if you tell a bit about yourself and also what your business does.
Sure. So I am Josh Bradley. I'm the CMO at 4C. We're a Salesforce implementation partner. We have offices across Europe, London, Paris, Mechelen, Copenhagen, Brussels, Lille, Lyon, Oslo, our most recent open, and also in Dubai. So pan-European platinum Salesforce partner.
You seem to be growing very quickly. Do you have a favorite office?
I enjoy. Well, I'm from London. That's where I'm based, which is a fantastic city. But it's nice to get out to Dubai as well. It's definitely a sunny part of the world, and pleasant office with a great view.
Great, sounds great, and it's probably very different from the rest of Europe.
Yeah, completely. The culture out there, how you engage with customers, how you go about selling services, how software is sold it's a different market. It's an emerging market, but one of Salesforce's fastest growing emerging markets. So an exciting place to do business, and enjoyed it.
Sounds cool, and you say exciting place to do business, but you're CMO of a consulting firm offering integration services for mainly Salesforce, but also beyond. But how do you market? How do you go to customers?
Yeah, it's a good question. We have, as an organization, we've focused a lot on building the 4C brand over the last couple of years, building a positive reputation around the implementations that we've carried out, strengths in the areas of manufacturing, high tech. So really trying to sort of drill down into those industries. When I first joined 4 years ago, I always say that we were like a mile wide and an inch deep, trying to be everything to everyone.
Right.
Following multiple acquisitions in France and the Nordics, obviously 4C is a Belgian business, and acquiring my former employer, Cloud Socius, we were able to sort of bring together all the strengths of the group and decide, well, where do we want to focus? How do we play to our strengths? And now we're using much more, I guess, distinctive and targeted messaging around things like CPQ, Agreement Cloud, which is DocuSign's platform, has really come to its own. And we also have, like I said, a focus on high tech and manufacturing, which have become important, and non-profit as well, certainly in the UK. So we're going to come on to this, but trying to target different customer segments, certainly on business size as well. We've evolved from being an SMB focused business to a more CBU and enterprise focused business as we've grown.
So, but it's interesting because I do want to get to, you mentioned targeting, but maybe before we go there, let's spend a minute on positioning, because you mentioned when you came in, if I can say it that way, basically 4C was doing a little bit of everything. Now I hear you mentioning two things really, product focus such as CPQ, but also industry focus such as manufacturing. How do you balance that? Because it sounds like a trade-off to some extent.
Yeah, I think when you go where the money is, right, where the big deals are, that's often what happens when you're a growing services business like ourselves. We've had a look. We've invested a lot as an organisation into the technologies of CPQ and agreement cloud. We know, for example, that manufacturers are big adopters of that technology, so that's a big space where they're playing. We know in the e-commerce space, so high tech, for example, CPQ is becoming much more popular. I think there's a higher purchase rate in those two industries. It wasn't the exact reason we chose them, but I believe that we've got the skill set. We've managed to carve out a position. I think we have 35 plus consultants now in that CPQ and building space. So you kind of build up a reputation in the services sector, and that's what we've played off massively. And we've got some big customers now in that CPQ space. It's not just manufacturing and high tech, but financial services and a few other places. So if I was to choose, it is a balancing act, but I think it's where the sales coming from. It's about adding value to the bottom line of the business, and CPQ has been a big driver of sales for us. So, yeah.
Great. So that's a bit about the positioning and the expertise that you bring as 4C to your customers. Now, one of the domains that you're active in is marketing automation. So I'm curious. Marketing automation is a phrase thrown around a lot in recent years. What does marketing automation mean for you? Let's start there.
Sure. I think for me, marketing automation is being able to map your customer's journey from the initial touch point of engaging with your brand online. So for us, if I think of what that looks like for one of our prospects or leads to customers, it's coming onto the website, completing an inquiry, downloading a bit of content, being put into a specific list or segmented into a group, going on to nurture or drip campaign, being pushed through that nurture and drip campaign, invited to events, send out various bits of content, being linked to alerts to send to our BD or sales team for further qualification, and recycling sort of the customer's actions on things like page actions, how they're engaging with different products or services that we have online. Ultimately that sort of nurture, building a profile, being able to pass on, warm leads to our BD team or our sales team.
Right, and you are obviously a B2B business. Can I ask, what is the tag that you use for the aforementioned nurturing flows?
The tag?
The technology.
Oh, the technology, yeah. Pardot. We use Pardot.
Pardot, okay. And are there some lessons learned that you can share with us about that?
So probably my biggest takeaways, what are my favourite features of Pardot? I love page actions. I think if you understand how to use them properly.
How do you use them properly?
Oh, good question. So it's about setting up real-time alerts, scoring, page scoring, unique scoring on certain pages for prospects. So if you want to know when someone's really engaged, say our managed service product or our CPQ product, we're able to find out when people visit certain blogs related to, let's say, managed service, the managed service product page, they go on to watch a managed service webinar. This will track them over time, and it'll send real-time alerts or notifications out to the salesperson or the BD that lead or prospect is assigned to. So it helps them understand what is this potentially old lead or brand new lead looking at, and it gives them talking points, and it just keeps that real-time, I guess the real-time engagements close to your sales team. So that's what I've used sales page actions for previously. I'm a big fan of form handlers, just because they can be manipulated and you can develop them to sit within your website. Again, that's probably the biggest tool I've used, or the tool we've used most frequently within Pardot. Obviously, customer profiling, your lead scoring, etc.
About the lead scoring, we're actually starting to circle back slowly to targeting this way. Lead scoring seems to be something very hard to pull off. I find that customers, it's almost a bit elusive, it seems. To what extent are you able to leverage that?
Yeah, it is difficult. You've got to really set your stall out early doors. You need to know because it's very fluid, they can change, right? The score changes all the time. You add new web pages, bits of content. You need to set up your scoring parameters very early, I think, to get it right, and you need to stick to those parameters. And again, it's about how you set up alerts. I think you need to bake in things like page actions, because all of a sudden you get someone with a score of 500, but what does that 500 mean relative to what the prospect or the lead has been doing on your site? There needs to be a history behind that, and that's, I think, where it comes to lots of the planning before you sort of execute. So to answer the question, it is difficult to get it right, but I think like anything in marketing, it boils down to strategy first. Decide what that looks like. What is a hot lead? What's a cold lead? What are the key sort of the pages or actions that feed into that score?
And define a process underneath that.
Yeah, exactly. Building the process with your BD or your sales team, whoever's nurturing those leads for you, or picking up the phone or engaging with them via email.
Sure. So, and then for targeting itself, let's say tomorrow you want to do a campaign. I'm assuming it will probably be for a specific domain like CPQ, perhaps even for an industry. But what are the next steps then? How do you do that specifically?
So to build a campaign, if for example, we have an existing install base of, let's say, 500 Sales Cloud users within a particular industry. We would go out, we'd do an analysis of the data that we have, say, are they potential buyers? Is there an opportunity? Maybe speak to the account manager, the salesperson, or the technical person working on that account. If they're obviously happy for us to email them, we'll put them into a nurture campaign, which will have been built out by one of the marketing team. That'll contain various bits of content, blogs, webinars, ebooks. We've got a lot of research as well on that sector. Push them through that nurture. They might we'd usually have planned out a couple of events throughout the year as well, so there's an opportunity to pick up the phone and say, we've not spoken in maybe a year or two. We know you have Sales Cloud, but would you like to come along to our CPQ event? We're going to have guest speaker, and by that stage we're hoping that they've received a couple of emails, gone through the nurture process,
which you can see in Pardot.
Which we can see. They may have gone through as well. There might be some remarketing there as well, which is always useful. That's a channel that we do use paid as well. If we've got that customer data and we know that they are interested or mentioned it in the past, so a bit of black magic.
But about the interested part, I'm trying to imagine how this process goes. Is it that in marketing you first make let's say a base selection based, like you said, industry and install base, for instance, but it sounds like then you go to the next step, which is validating that with sales.
Yeah, well, I want to kind of go back to some of the philosophy that I've been learning about recently. I've completed a mini MBA where how you should go around, and I'm going to stop me if you want to, but go into sort of segmentation, targeting, positioning. I think a lot of companies nowadays, whether you're working in B2B or B2C, make the mistake of jumping straight into the tactics without doing the segmentation, targeting, positioning. So what channels are we going to use, whether that's events, email, PR, content, whatever that mix, like that integrated marketing communications mix might look like for you. But a lot of businesses don't take the time to set the strategy, to listen to the customer, what you call market orientation.
What I hear is some people go directly to let salespeople pick a list of customers instead of...
Exactly, rather than actually planning it out. So listening to what your customer has to say, what does the market have to say, what can your business learn by listening, right? And then going out and doing your segmentation, your targeting, building your position from there. So what's the message around CPQ or the evolution of what 4C wants to be for a customer? It's not just about Salesforce for us, but it's about delivering value through management consultancy, technology, things like AI and big data as well moving forward. So again, listening, and then again, trying to go back, look at what segments are actually, what market segments you want to tap into, and then who within those segments where you want to position yourself as well.
You mentioned segments. Do you have something like completely predefined segments? Like tomorrow, if I want to send out an email with your part environment to manufacturing CPQ with already a Sales Cloud install base, is there something like that? Consumable?
Roughly, again, it depends how good you are with your data. If you've got a strong Salesforce setup, which we're lucky enough to have, which has taken years of refinement, right? It's if you're strict with your data and your sales team are on the ball and all the mandatory fields are completed and you've got industry, you have location, etc., then splitting and managing that data is a dream. If it's not, then I hope you've got a good internal admin. Or you want to come and see us for a managed service product and we can help you. But yeah, it boils down to how you manage your data, especially in marketing to existing customers. And that's where things like Pardot can help, using form handlers, having the right fields. That's why when you go to complete a contact us form, you get asked sort of your first name, last name, industry, location. All of this helps with the actual splitting out and the segmentation of the data as well.
All right. And there's one side question here, because we're often using the terms targeting segmentation. Maybe it's just in the Belgian market, but I hear the phrase campaign selections often used for this process. Is that something you use?
It's not a term I've come across now. Perhaps stepping outside the technical environment for more than a year now, I've lost touch a bit, but yeah, it's not a term I've come across.
And then is there some sort of distinction between targeting and segmentation?
Well, I think your market segment is the bigger picture. This is what we're going to do. This is the segment we want to go into. The targeting piece is drilling a bit further and building the profile of who you're going after in that segment, if I'm correct.
It aligns very well with the way I see it. I would say targeting is when you're doing a specific campaign, you're probably going to leverage your segments that you hopefully already have if your CRM is good. But then within that you may add an extra filter, for instance.
Yeah, so if you wanted to go after CFOs who fell into the financial services industry and they were the decision makers, and you build your target, a target profile, which I think it's called. You can sort of go after something very specific. I can't remember the name of it, trying to think back to my theory, but if you really want to do a sort of deep dive, you can really pin yourself, your business to sort of one or two key target segments and build the profile of exactly who you're going for, which is interesting. It takes a lot of work, I think a lot of research as well.
But it can pay off.
It can pay off massively, yeah.
Excellent. Well, you've answered all of my questions. Is there any question you want to ask me? It's something I like to ask the interviewees during these series.
Sure. I'd like to ask you who, excluding Salesforce, because we both work in a Salesforce environment, what B2B organizations do you think are making a big impact with their marketing program or marketing to their potential customers very well?
Yeah, I find it a really challenging question. This is the part where the viewers find out that this is not entirely scripted, by the way. So yeah, Salesforce is great. But other than that, especially because we are a technology company ourselves, we are very big on Slack. And I think the way that what makes Slack interesting is that to a large extent, their marketing has to do with their product management, I would say. What I mean with that is they start with a very niche segment, so to say, that they served. The tool offers a lot of features for developers for more technical profiles. And I think that they knew that these people were the entryway into the companies to launch this sort of software. If you have a developer team in your company that's starting to use Slack, they also happen to be the decision makers who can say, oh, we can just roll this out for the rest of the organization. So I think it's partially targeting, it's definitely also positioning and the way they put the product forward.
Yeah, they did. They kind of did a backdoor job, is what I like to say, because like a traditional SaaS business. They didn't go heavy momentum on marketing and kind of evolved organically. But you know, now if you look, they're the biggest I guess probably player in that SMB space for like intercompany communication or even external company communication. We use it to engage with a lot of our external suppliers, setting up work groups. Yeah, it's a fantastic platform for SMBs.
It's interesting, yeah. But on a side note, I just remembered something that I found interesting is that some of the ways that B2B businesses are marketing these days are starting to be adopted by B2C. The most recent example I came across is Salesforce has their yearly Dreamforce with a massive keynote by their CEO, Mark Benioff. But I was really surprised a while ago when I went to the website of Airbnb and they had their CEO keynote on the front page. So it's not that this has to be B2B and this has to be B2C and there's no lessons learned between, I think.
Yeah, I think it's becoming, the lines are becoming more and more blurred. I think if you look at the buying habits or sort of the things that impact buying decisions for B2C is kind of overflowing into B2B as well. Interesting, you know, you look at the evolution of platforms like G2 who are there to disrupt organizations like Forrester and Gartner. It's becoming the Amazons, the Airbnbs of this world have completely shook up how consumers go about buying a product. They want to read reviews. That's arguably the most important thing now in a buying decision in the B2B space as well. Peer-to-peer reviews is so important. It used to be things like content and case studies, but I think you'll find now that they're a bit further down the line, and the evolution of peer-to-peer platforms like G2 Crowd are having a big impact on the purchase decisions in the B2B space.
Absolutely, and I think that's a good statement to round up this interview. I want to thank you for your time, Josh.
Yes, thank you.